All right, guys, welcome in. This is JE Live. It is the Rams Packers preview, and I have my guy Tom Grossi. He's joining me. It's the first ever collab here with my previews. Normally I just do them solo, but I had to reach out to this man. He is absolutely killing it on YouTube. I don't have to tell you that. Most of you know that. But Tom, welcome in. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me. Very much appreciated. We got a little fancy setup here. I think lots of blue. Mike Myers is hanging out in the background. Like we're rocking and rolling.
Yeah, exactly. What you got on the hoodie there? Is that
Oh, this is a little wildflower action. It's literally
nice.
myself just as one of my characters because I'm that narcissistic. So
Hey, I like it though. It works.
gotta rep the brand, baby. That's it.
Hey, absolutely. So we got a lot to talk about,
Yeah.
and we're gonna start with our two favorite teams, the Rams and Packers. And this game is, I mean, I don't know how much of a must-win it is for the Packers, seeing as that they pretty much rule that division. We have two teams that are playing right now, and we're not watching them, and
Yeah.
they're quite honestly, they're not very good.
They're not.
It's like bad turkey, like you don't want it,
No.
but you have, the Packers still are trying to potentially get a first seed, and
It's true.
with the new playoff format, you don't get the 2 seed doesn't get a bye. So it is somewhat of a must win for the Packers in that sense. On the flip side of things, the Rams are chilling there, and they're not really chilling right now. I mean, the world is kind of crumbling in LA. And if you don't believe me, just look at Rams Twitter over the last, week. I've had to completely remove myself at times because I can't stand listening to fans that, clearly didn't watch the Steve Spagnuolo Rams, go 1-15 or what have you. And now all of a sudden the sky is falling at 7-3. But that's the way it is. Coming into this game, I'm going to ask you right off the cuff, Tom.
Yeah.
What is the thing that is going to decide this game? What's the big thing that you're thinking on both sides? I mean, is it the quarterback play from Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers, or the defense? Like, where are you, aiming towards to start the game?
Yeah, there's two places in particular. One, of course, is going to be our offensive line, as Elton Jenkins, who is one of the most versatile offensive linemen in the game, can literally play any single spot, out for the season. Unfortunately, tearing his ACL last week against the Vikings in like a freak play. So unfortunately, we're going to be down that. Dave Bakhtiari not going to return, as he just got like little mini surgery to clean things up. He maybe could return after the bye. It's really going to be that offensive line holding up against your defensive line and Aaron Donald. Last time we played in the divisional round, we faced a beat up Rams football team in which Aaron Donald was definitely not at full strength. So I think it's going to be a matter of trying to get the ball out on time. We don't know if Aaron Jones is going to play. That'll play a factor as well. But the second thing it's going to be is without guys like Jair Alexander, and we'll see about Rashawn Gary. But last week, you saw Justin Jefferson absolutely tear up that Packers secondary, and a defense that has been very, very good this year, except for week 1 and then last week. So that was kind of something that was in the back of my mind. I was like, we got to go up against Cooper Kupp, who is absolutely electric this season and is crushing it. So my two biggest concerns about this game is going to be how we're going to deal with your pass rush, and then how we're going to defend against a guy like Cooper Kupp.
I mean, I hear you. I think right off the bat, you talk about, obviously Devontae Adams, on the Ram side of things, man, stopping him. And then I would honestly say a guy that's not getting enough talk, regardless if Aaron Jones does play or not, it's A.J. Dillon. The Rams really have a lighter box, playing 5-6 guys in the box more often than not. And I mean, I don't have to tell you that, because if you watch the Niners game, they just ran it down their throat, and the Rams didn't really adjust to that. Well, here's the fact, is that Quadzilla doesn't care. Quadzilla can run through 8 or 9 guys in the box as it is. So if you're going to play 6, I mean, that might be a guy to start in fantasy this week, because the Rams aren't a bad run defense. That's what I can't stress that enough. They're actually not as bad as it looked on, Monday Night Football. What it comes down to is this: they give up those chunk plays. At the end of the day, first and second down, they're not that bad. On third down, and that's not even just the run, regardless, the Rams play off so much that, I mean, this bend don't break has started to break a little bit. And,
Yeah.
we're starting to see that. So they really have to tune that up. And the Rams are coming off a bye, a much needed bye. I think they really needed that. They needed to, integrate Von Miller into the defense. And of course, the defense has, a root from Vic Fangio's scheme. So, Von Miller is accustomed to playing that, but it is a little different. The verbiage is different, getting him, those reps. But then Odell Beckham Jr. on the offensive side, who I think is going to be an electric player down the stretch. But, to ask him on Monday Night Football to come off a half practice on Saturday and just be like ready to play and be ready to generate all this, production was ridiculous. And I kept saying that, but coming off a bye, I still think it's kind of ridiculous to assume this guy is going to absolutely tear it up. Is he capable of it? Yes, but he doesn't have the playbook down, and he shouldn't have it down that quickly. So if he does, I mean, that would be something. But those two guys, I'm very curious to see how much they progress as the season goes on, especially in this game coming off the bye. How much catch up was Odell Beckham Jr. and Von Miller able to play over the bye? That's something we're going to find out.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you saw it definitely when you guys near the end of the game against the 49ers, and there was a lot of no huddle. Like OBJ was nowhere to be seen because he doesn't know. That's a brand new offense for him. So, I mean, I think that down the stretch, he's going to be good. Obviously, with the loss of Robert Woods, he's going to have an opportunity to shine. And I think it's going to be interesting with AJ Dillon because last week, the Packers just did not run the ball like at all. And when we did, we didn't have a lot of success. So that's the only thing I'm mildly concerned about. And considering that, when Stafford plays well, and I like Matthew Stafford a lot, when he plays well, you could potentially have some explosive plays. And if we get down early, we're going to abandon the run. And that's where my concern is going to be, especially if your D-line is kind of having its way with our offensive line that's beat up right now. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Packers could find themselves in a really dangerous spot, but it kind of depends on what Rams team are we going to see. I mean, are we going to get the Rams that were run, 43 times on by the 49ers and looked like us in the NFC Championship game a couple years ago? Is it going to be like the Titans game in which maybe Rashawn Gary's back and our pass rush is going to be able to cut through that offensive line? I don't know. Or maybe are they just going to be rocking it down the field and Cooper Kupp's going to have 165 yards. And I think it's just kind of like that lack of consistency, which has, caused some Rams fans to maybe panic a little bit. I think that both of us are still in the thick of it. While you guys have the Arizona Cardinals to deal with, in terms of winning the division, I would not doubt that we're still going to probably see each other or cross paths come January.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think looking at that Arizona game, I mean, that's massive. But, the Packers, they beat Arizona, and this is a team that I think has shown you the ability to play a balanced attack. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, if they need him to throw for 400 yards, he can do it. He's capable. But they have a running game. And I think that it's been a different type of recipe for success with the Packers. But, one thing that, if we're obviously teams are a little different than last year in the playoffs, but you still have to keep in mind that, things that LaFleur tried, they worked. I mean, they used all three running backs in that playoff game. They had split back formation. They were using different things and it was working. They were able to gash the Rams defense. And like you said, I mean, Aaron Donald wasn't, healthy really. So he didn't play most of the game, sure, but you can't take away, like the credit that they deserve out of that. I mean, that was definitely a nice way of game planning. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. If the Rams lose this game, that means Sean McVay in 7 appearances against his, former coaches that he's worked with, Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur, he's 0-7. So,
well,
something to keep in mind.
You guys are also very familiar with one Joe Barry, who is our defensive coordinator as well. So Joe Barry, after week 1, Packers fans were ready to ostracize him and throw him off a cliff.
I remember that.
They were like, oh, wait, no, it was halfway through the Lions game. We're still ready to throw him off a cliff. And they're like, oh, wait, he made an adjustment. And then they've been great. And besides last week, they've been a top 3 defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
And, being able to do that with Zadarius Smith out, Jair Alexander out, Rashawn Gary out last week, without those integral pieces, has been like, my hat's off to him. I mean, it allows a guy like Devondre Campbell like to really, I mean, he's one of the best inside linebackers in football this season.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And, he played in the Cardinals and like, he wasn't that good.
No, you're like, I'll
Bill
take
Barry's
it.
just like, I got you, buddy. Like, I'm going to turn you into a superstar. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think there's a lot of familiarity. Obviously, Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers know each other very, very well. I think overall it's going to be a really fun game. I kind of wish we were at full strength to kind of see what this would look like, but c'est la vie, injuries are going to happen.
Yeah, I hate injuries. I mean, but I also, I'm one of those people that like people are like, oh, their whole offensive line's out. We have a chance to like, if you're thinking that,
Yeah.
like you're probably you have the mind of like a Lions fan or a Browns fan right now. You know what I mean? Like you're used to like the Rams aren't in that tier anymore. They're among the top teams in the league. And so that's why I don't have that mindset. You should go out there and beat anybody. And that's kind of where I draw the line here. Because if the Rams lose this game, to me, I just don't think they're as good as I thought. Like I had this team winning the Super Bowl, and I expect firmly for them to bounce back and win this game. But if they lose this game and they lose 3 straight, that's 3 straight to obviously the Niners. They can't beat for whatever reason. They're not that great. But the Titans, the Packers, the Cardinals, they've only beaten the Bucks. And I don't even know how good the Bucks are, to be honest with you. So it's like,
buddy, I don't know who's a good team in the NFL this year.
Team?
Like I honestly am looking like the Cardinals. I'm like, okay, like Cole McCoy won, like that's cool, but like we also beat them without our top 3 wide receivers. Like there's so many like times you could look at like the Titans. You're like, oh, this is a really good team, and then they lose to the Texans. Like I don't know. Like I truly don't know. So I think at this point, it's anybody's guess.
I know. And all these injuries and stuff, and we have another week, it's like, oh, awesome. Yeah. I have no idea. I mean, the Bills, everyone talked about the Bills, but I'm like, they lost the first game of the year to the Steelers, and people were still like, oh, they're still the best. They're still the best. They have the best defense. Now, what are the Bills,
Bad.
Yeah. So bad they're making my eyes water.
Listen, you would cry too if you watched that Jaguars game against the Bills.
Yeah. I did, because they just kept being like, oh, Josh Allen sucked Josh Allen. Josh Allen picked off Josh Allen. Josh Allen got a fumble on Josh. Like, oh my God.
It's great.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. All right. While my eyes just die over here. Let's talk a little bit about the predictions coming in this game, if you have any. Do you have any stat predictions, any player predictions before we get into like a final score or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think looking at this, if the Packers, the problem is like I would love to be like, that's gonna be a 3-point game, but Mason Crosby has been inconsistent
just a little bit
late. So I mean, yeah, I think that this could be a very high scoring affair. Like I gotta say, I think either the Packers like sneak off a win, and are able to do that, or like there's potential the Packers get like blown out here. But in terms of stats, I think, Rodgers is probably gonna put up like, 350, something like that, probably have 2 to 3 tutties. And then I'm just hoping that AJ Dillon like just goes off. And I will say one of my favorite things, because I like the Rams. I actually have no problem with the Rams. I have a problem that now they're kind of getting like a little like super team-ish. And I was like, I don't know about feeling like when Von Miller came over, I was like, okay, well, good for Von. Then OBJ came over and I was like, But I will say one of the best moments of last year was Devontae Adams burning Jalen Ramsey so bad that he threw a temper tantrum in the end zone. And even if we lose, I just hope that happens again, because of all the smack talk that Jalen Ramsey talked about Devontae Adams, and for him to just break his ankles in the end zone and then throw a fit. It just made me a very happy man. So
hey, I get it.
I don't know, but tantrums, I hope there's at least one.
I just hope we don't have like towards the end of the game, you're making a push and then Alan Lazard's wide open. Like we're just not gonna cover him. Just like
it happens.
And like hope he drops it.
I mean, that's the thing. Like MVS, I mean, you saw. I mean, if you watched the Vikings game last week, like one play, it was literally one play, and he was gone. And he's our speedster,
Yeah.
So him being healthy is a big deal, because not a lot of people talk about our wide receivers, because it's basically the Devontae Adams show. But like they have guys like Cobby, like MVS, like Lazard, who can definitely make plays. I mean, hell, Equinemius St. Brown has been taking like jet sweeps out of the backfield, and like he's been making some plays. Called up from the practice squad. Has been on the roster for years now.
I've always been a fan of
Yeah.
EQ. I don't know why. I have
Love
this
some
soft
EQ.
spot for him, you know.
I mean, it's
And I
one of the
mean,
greatest
Rodgers
names
loves
ever.
him too. So you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I mean, and it's funny, like you mentioned, like yeah, I actually like I kind of I'm the same way. I mean, I've really liked the Packers, not as a favorite team. I
Right.
don't get the heartstrings when they're losing,
Yeah.
but I've always liked them because you know what I find funny is, and whether people admit or not, Aaron Rodgers is held to a completely different standard than most quarterbacks in the league. Like he is called the cancer. Like he is literally like everything we're hearing about OBJ over the last like bunch of weeks. Like
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is called that, and this guy has a Super Bowl win.
Yeah.
This guy, in my opinion, might be the GOAT. I honestly think he's better than Brady. And I think there are times where, yep. You might not have known who I was, but yeah, I'm that guy that made a video early on in my YouTube channel that he was the GOAT over Brady, and I broke it down and everything.
Oh, I did
But
too. I had spreadsheets. I went through like the defenses that
yep,
each of them had. That was
same
like one
here.
of my most disliked videos of all time. That was years ago that I put that out when I was just starting, and people were just like, "You don't know anything," and I'm like, "Okay, buddy." Okay.
Well, like the thing I laugh at, and I don't know how you are on McCarthy, but McCarthy's not Belichick, so that's the first
No.
thing. The second thing is Aaron Rodgers in like his entire career has had like 2 top 10 defenses,
Mhm.
make it 3 this year.
Mhm.
So this is the 3rd year
Mhm.
of his career where he's had a top 10 defense, where
Mhm.
Brady had 2 seasons in which he didn't, and both they didn't go to the Super Bowl, and
Mhm.
one of which they didn't even make the playoffs.
And that's the thing. Like, I know this is getting into this conversation, but like, Tom Brady's a great quarterback. Like, he,
Yeah,
in my mind, is the most
absolutely.
accomplished, easy quarterback of all time. But I think there's a difference between accomplished and talented. And I
Yeah,
think that while he has a ton of talent, he has one of the best pocket presences of any QB that has ever lived. I mean,
absolutely.
like, I don't think it's not lessening him any by saying you've also had balanced teams for the majority of your career. And like, the argument's always like, well, he's turned these wide receivers who were nobodies into somebodies. I mean, so did Aaron Rodgers. I mean, like,
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers did the same exact thing. So, yeah, I mean, that's a different conversation, but yeah, no,
No,
okay, we're good.
exactly.
We're
And
good.
getting his best receiver age 33, I'm done.
Yeah,
But I just had to throw out there because I really do going back to it, and we're not talking about, the vaccine and all that. It was before that.
yeah,
It was constant, oh, he's a bad teammate.
yes.
Anonymous source tells me Aaron Rodgers makes
Jermichael
fun of
Finley
people
and
in the
Greg
locker
Jennings.
room.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like who like what? Like I don't know what it is with the guy. Personally, I think he looks kind of like Dave Grohl. Maybe that's why I love him so much. Um, but like, especially now with the long hair, you got to give me
It's
that.
true.
But he's just I've always been a big fan of his game, and I like that. He's never had an offensive mind like LaFleur, and I don't think LaFleur is a revolutionary offensive mind. I think he's very good,
Mhm.
but he's never had that like McVay type of scheming until LaFleur. I mean, for the most, I don't think McCarthy was that great. And so I think his ability to work off script, and we can kind of tie it into this preview, his ability to work off script keeps him in any game at
Sure.
any given time. Whereas Brady is not that guy that can move out of the pocket, create. He's not going to get those Hail Mary throws that Rodgers made. I mean, Rodgers is his own
Only
dude.
against Kevin King. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know why you brought him back, to be honest with you, but I'm
I actually
probably
don't hate it. I actually am okay with the fact
okay.
he had a
All
really
right.
bad game last week, but when he's on the field, he's actually been pretty solid this year. But that's neither here nor there. That's Kevin King talk.
Rasul Douglas.
Dude,
He is filled
stud.
in a
Stud.
big way, and
Yeah.
this is somebody. It kind of goes to show you around the league, for whatever reason, we draft players and then we don't try to develop them, and then we just pull the plug on them. And Rasul Douglas, honestly, to me, showed flashes already before he went to the Green Bay. So good on Green Bay for going out and making, the play on him. And I mean, it sucks that Jair's hurt. That's the second best corner in football. I think Ramsey's the best, but Jair is my guy. Coming
Yeah.
out of the draft, he was my 3rd overall player in the draft. I can't believe all those people that were like, he's injury prone. I'm not touching him. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Okay.
Just absolute shutdown. But kind of looking at this game, I guess, let's talk about some X factors before we get into the prediction for the actual score. First off, I think Odell Beckham Jr. could be a huge X factor for the Rams. I think for the Packers. I think MVS is, because this is a team that doesn't want to give up the big play, ironically, which is why they play so much off coverage. MVS can eat up a 20-yard cushion and with ease. So it's a matter, is he going to come down with it? Because he has that inconsistent hand placement. He's always had that going back to college. So I think they're both X factors in their own right at the receiver position. On defensive side, I think, the ability that Rashawn Gary has, he has a chance to blow up any game. I don't think he gets enough respect.
Definitely
And then on the Rams side, I'm going to go with the newcomer here, Von Miller. Depending on how integrated he is with the system now, he could make a play. He could make a big play. I thought he had some moments against the Niners, had a really nice spin move, had a really nice rush. Keep in mind, he was going up against Trent Silverback Williams, who may be the best left tackle in football after Bakhtiari. But, I think with a bye week, he has a chance to do something. But who are your X factors on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, obviously, when you're looking at kind of the Packers offense, there's like the usual guys. Josh Neiman, who is going to be filling in for Elton Jenkins, is our left tackle, who has also played left tackle a bunch of times, is pretty solid. I imagine that you're going to get a lot of chips in there to avoid, to protect that blind side a little bit more. So I'm going to be kind of looking at him to kind of just hold down the fort a bit. I do want to see, guys like Alan Lazard, potentially maybe Cobb, potentially getting, some yardage out of this, because there's going to be so much attention on Davante Adams. But I'm really just going to be looking more at like the play calling and just trying to get a balanced offense going, because we did not have one last week. And the Packers, for whatever reason this season, they start off so damn slow in the first half, like painfully slow. You look at that second half of the Vikings game, they're scoring on every single time they touch the football. But the first half, except the drive right before half, they're trash. So I think it's against this team, like they are going to need to score fast, because you do have game wreckers, right? Like you do have an Aaron Donald, you do have a Von Miller, and like that terrifies me against this offensive line that is not at full strength in any way, shape, or form. And then the other guy who I actually kind of fear a little bit on your offense is Van Jefferson. I've watched a lot of Rams games this year, and I liked him coming out of college a lot. I actually wanted the Packers to go after him for a bit. And so, I think that he could potentially, if all the focus is going to be on Cooper Kupp, obviously, and, you're looking at guys like maybe OBJ, like Van Jefferson might have some opportunities. And that could be painful.
No, it's a really good point. I like that you threw out Van Jefferson. There's another guy to throw out there that I, for whatever reason, did not talk about at all the entire time. He's one of my favorite players on the Rams. Darrell Henderson does not get enough credit. Before the bye, he was top 10 in rushing. The Rams, for whatever reason, pull the plug on, running you watch the Rams game. So, they just stop running the ball. Oh, it's working. Let's stop that. Let's make it challenging. They're like that person that plays like Madden on rookie, but wants to use Tom Brady at wide receiver and use an offensive lineman at quarterback. They try to make things difficult on themselves.
Well, I think it's you look at the games too, is when they're falling behind. So Stafford throws back-to-back picks, one being a pick six. And that's kind of what I was concerned about with the Packers coming into this week. It's that the game plan goes out the window. You're down 2 scores, and you're like, well, we don't want to run the ball right now. Even though that could potentially set the tone. But, we're down 2 to 3 scores against offenses, in terms of the Rams and the Packers that can put up points. I think that that's a concern. So, yeah, I think that this is going to be a bleed the clock kind of hey, let's see how much success we have with AJ Dillon, because good God, man, we had so many 3rd and 9s last week. I was just tired of seeing them, and we were shooting ourselves in the foot with so many penalties. And it was just a matter of hey, we're putting ourselves in these positions where we're just not going to be successful. And if we're going to come away with a win against a good Rams football team, we can't do that.
Yeah, and you literally did what the Rams did. You breathed the life back into a rival. The Rams lose to the Niners, and now all of a sudden the Niners are riding. I'm not gonna lie. The Jaguars isn't that that's not a great win, but it just put them right back in the playoff race. That's the problem with the Packers loss, is that it put the Vikings right there. Now they have a tiebreaker of all cases. So, I definitely hear you there. I think it's going to be interesting to see what the game plan is. That was a big thing that I've watched a lot of Packers games myself. And, that is the thing. Like you mentioned it, the slow starts. And this is a team with the Rams. They got to get off to a good start because they are, 42, 43-0 under Sean McVay when leading at halftime. I mean, that's incredible. But it's also bad because the Rams are so determined to be leading at halftime. They are not a team that comes back very often. I mean, if it's more than 14 points, most of us are kind of like, all right, this game's over. It's sad, but it's like, Sean McVay, he's the man. Like, Sean McVay is the best play, like, designer in football, but play caller, if you're not following, like, he's really not that good. He has everything in his arsenal, but I think he just gets way too cute at times. And sometimes he just tries to he overthinks things. And I had this kind of feeling when I saw him against the Falcons his rookie year in the playoffs in 2017. I was like, they should have won that game. But it was very obvious in the Super Bowl against the Patriots when I really noticed it. Because even though Jared Goff looked like a potato at times in the playoffs, like, he still was good enough to win that football game at the end. Like, you're talking, if Brandon Cooks catches that touchdown, it's a whole different story, but they still had so many opportunities because the defense, ironically, they didn't bring back Wade Phillips after that. The defense is actually what kept them, in that Super Bowl. And then you go back, you look at the Packers game, the Rams were right in that without Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald at 20%.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was like, we gave up a touchdown. And then, like, Sean got way too, like, stick to your game plan, because the Cam Akers, the problem is this idea that you can't run the football when you're losing by, say, 14 is just not, it's not true. I mean, when you're running the football the way Cam Akers was running in the playoffs, he was one of the hottest running backs. And you guys saw that, and he abandoned the run at the end of the game and got really, we have to, we have to pass. And you had, like, Bobby Evans was like a turnstile in that. I don't have to tell you that because Dean Lowry turned him inside and out. But I mean, that's what I'm talking about. So, like, what are we going to get from Sean McVay? What are we going to get from Matt LaFleur? Both have an opportunity to win games. Both have an opportunity to lose themselves games. So it's really, I mean, that's probably where the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But that's where we stand right now. And I think, going into this final score, I'm going to say 33-26 Rams. I respect the Packers. So for people saying just because all the injuries, they're going to blow them out. Look, I don't care if Rodgers showed you his toe or his hand or whatever. Like, I trust Rodgers that he's got, a broken, fractured toe or whatever. But Rodgers is still Rodgers. So I'm not going to say they blow him out, although I could see what you're saying there. 33-26. I think this is a big bounce back win on the road. I think fans will still complain because it's not a blowout with all of those backups, but you take, however much you can win in the league, that's what you do. And it's a week by week basis, and Rams coming off a bye, they need this. I think they're the more desperate team, and I think they're the more talented team, obviously, with all the players out. So I have them winning 33-26.
I'll go Packers 23-17 just to be contrarian. Plus, I can't pick against the Packers. Like, come on, Jake. We can't do that. So we can't do that.
No, then you get the pitchforks when you're like, say you pick against the Packers and it happens. Like, everyone is going to come after you.
You did this. You did this.
Yeah. Like, no, I hear you. But I think we're going to get some good contribution out of Matthew Stafford and Rodgers. It's going to be the best game all weekend, I think.
Probably.
It's going to be a hell of a lot better than anything that's going to be on tonight.
That's very true. That is very, very true.
Which, by the way, I have to throw out something real quick. Guys, be sure to go over to my bookie, type in the code JKDTR, get the your first deposit matched up to $100, and put up to $250 on today's game. The Cowboys and Raiders, you have about 2 hours or a little bit under that to do that. You put up to $250. It all comes back if you lose. So go over, bet on the spread, Dallas. It doesn't matter who you pick. I'm not telling you to pick Dallas. I'm not telling you to pick Vegas. You pick one or the other. And at the end of the day, if you win, well, you get money. And if you lose, you still get money. You get it back. So go and do that. Yeah, that's all I had to say.
There you go.
So we're gonna wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts, Tom?
I'm just hoping for a good game, and like I said, I hope at some point, when the Packers are relatively healthy, maybe we'll do this again.
Sounds like a plan. All right, guys. Well, hope you guys enjoy. Tom, thank you so much for joining, and I appreciate you and the Grossi posse. Frequently coming into my live streams. Appreciate the representation, the support. But that's gonna do it for us. For Jake Ellenbogen, Tom Grossi. This has been the Rams and Packers preview. Hope you guys enjoy this weekend, and we'll see you guys soon. Later.